Hello, welcome back to this channel. This is one of the hardest questions you could have for your GCSE exams on simultaneous equation. So you're supposed to solve this simultaneously, and the best method is to use what we call the substitution method. So first, let's level our equation. And if you want to do substitution, it's always best to make a subject out of the linear relationship, so we can make y the subject or x the subject before we put that expression back into the quadratic relationship. So I'm going to make x the subject. To make x the subject, I'm going to minus 2y from both sides and then divide through by 3. So I'll end up having 3x equals 3 minus 2y. And dividing both sides by 3, I'll have x equals 3 minus 2y all over 3. So I call it equation 3. So I'm going to substitute 3 into 1. What that means is that whatever I see x in equation 1, that's what I'm going to have. And because this is an expression, I have to put that in bracket and make sure the coefficient of 2 is outside and the square is also outside the bracket. So this is how it's going to look like. The next bit I need to do is to make sure that I try to tidy up what this bracket and the square will be. So you pull it out, and when you have a square, it means you multiply the expression by itself. So you do it twice and you expand it. You do the same method as expanding binomials. Some would prefer to call it the FOIL method. It's the same thing. So what I'm going to do is 3 times 3, 3 times minus 2y times 3, then minus 2y times minus 2y. That will be my numerator expression, and the denominator will be 3 times 3. So when you do the FOIL method, you end up having this expression all over 9. Then you simplify. Minus 6y minus 6y, or minus 6y. Negative 6y minus 6y is negative 12. So you end up having this as the expansion in simplified method. Simplified answer, sorry. So now I can put step 5, which is this expression, back into equation 4. So I'm going to replace all that with this, making sure the coefficient 2 is still outside. Okay. I can now expand by multiplying through the numerator by 2. So I'm going to multiply through by 2. So I'll have this. Then all I need to do is to solve it. So to solve it, because I have a denominator of 9, I can now multiply through every term by 9. And when you multiply by 9, this 9 will be crossed out. You multiply this by 9, you multiply this by 9. So you end up having this expression. The next step is to rearrange to form a typical quadratic equation, making sure one side is equal to 0. So what I do is I try to minus 126 from both sides. And if you do that, you remember that 8y squared minus 9y squared is negative y squared. Minus 24y is the minus 24y. And 18 minus 126 is minus 108, and all equal to 0. Now, it's always best and easy to solve quadratics when the coefficient of the square term is positive. So when you have this negative term, you can rearrange it by transposing everything onto the other side so that it changes the sign. So negative becomes positive, negative becomes positive, negative becomes positive, and it's still equal to 0. That will also still work. So this is what I have now. You can use the formula method, completing the square, or the factorizing method, because it can be factorized. So I'm going to factorize it. And factors of 108 that adds to make 24 is 6 times 18. And 6 plus 18 is 24. So which means y plus 6 equals 0. Then y plus 18 equals 0 as well. To solve for the first section of y plus 6 equals 0, it means y is equal to 6. Now put this back into equation 2 to work out what y will be. So I'll replace y with negative 6 and solve for x. And when you solve for x, you end up having 3x equals 15. because you have to minus add 12 to both sides. From here, 2 times minus is minus 12. And if you get rid of minus 12, you add 12 to both sides. That's why we have 3x equals 15. Divide both sides by 3. You end up having x equals 5. So which means that if y is equal to negative 6, x will be equals to what? 5. That's for the first section. Now let's look at the second section. If y plus 18 equals 0, then it means y is equal to 18. Putting this back into equation 2 to find out what will be the x coordinate or the x value, you have 3x plus 2 into bracket negative 18. Expand the bracket. This is what you have. Add 36 to both sides. You have 3x equals 39. Divide by 3. You have x equals 13. So which means that when y is equal to negative 18, x will be equal to 13. So this is one of the hardest questions you could have in your GCSE. It's just a matter of going through the steps and knowing exactly how you substitute and what you substitute. And if you are good at your arrangement and rearranging of expressions to form your quadratic expression and equation, you should be able to do it. Try making y the subject and substituting your expression into equation 1 and see if you end up having the same answer. Thanks for watching and share it with your friends.